Hey guys, I hope you guys are doing well today. I'm excited because we're gonna talk about the tech stacks if you have Archicad. So if you have Archicad and you have always asked yourself, what types of licenses can I do to complement my workflow? This is the video for you. Here we're gonna talk about actually five different tech stacks that you can use, and in the you stay until the end, I'll give you my tech stack so you can really see what are people using. Here I have also divided between lean plus, business, premium, and of course these will be mine for individuals. And I will also break down the cost of how much are the licenses gonna cost you at the end of the year. So with that being said, if you like this type of content, let me know in the comments what type of content would you like to listen. And let's start with the first one. So if you're Archicad, before we start, this is taking into account that you are just using Archicad as the main modeling tool. So this is not taking into account if you're using SketchUp or Rhino or other tools. This is as you're just an Archicad user and you just wanna learn about other tools that you can complement Archicad with. And this is also assuming that you're already starting using Archicad and you're a freelancer or small. This is going to be whether you're a freelancer, a small studio, or a big company. So let's start with the first one. So this one here, kind of going again, what are the best tech stacks for Archicad? The number one will be the lean part. And this is like if you are a freelancer or you're a very small company and you really want to be cost efficient and get just most that you can from Archicad. So of course the number one thing will be just to use Archicad and not even use the Beam Cloud. If you're just a freelancer, you just use Archicad, you do your own models. With Archicad, you have access to a lot of tools like the AI visualizer that will give you some renderings. You have the BeamX tool that you can have some presentations with the client. And you also have the Cine Render will give you different renderings. They could be photorealistic renderings or it could be like sketch renderings. So you have these mainly tools that you will use even without, well, I guess with the Beam Cloud license, you will have BeamX, but you can still use other if you don't have the Beam Cloud license. But for this one here, I'm gonna assume that you have a Beam Cloud license. It also assumes that you're a small studio. So let's say that you have an Archicad license, you have a Beam Cloud license. With that, you have these other resources here. But how else can you complement your workflow here? So here are the other things that you can use. So you can use DeFi or Twinmotion that are free. If you haven't done like $1 million in sales, so you're still a freelancer or a very small company, you can still use DeFi or Twinmotion for free. And they have the line sync connections with Archicad, and you can get pretty decent renderings with these two things, along with creating animations from bringing from Archicad to DeFi or Twinmotion. So I think that's something you can do, and they're totally free as of right now. Now, if you go past $1 million, we'll discuss in the tech stacks of how much will it cost. But as of right now, I'm gonna assume that you are not paying for Twinmotion or DeFi. And for here, if you really want to be cost effective, you can use Adobe Acrobat, which you will not be paying an Adobe Creative license for that. Acrobat is free. You can use it as at least as the reader goes. So you will not paying for that. And you can use Affinity Photo, which this is great because it does kind of work a little bit like Photoshop. It does have the same capabilities, except that this is a one-time payment license. So you will pay it one time and that's it. And right now, if you want to pay Affinity Photo license, that's like $70. And now you own it for life, right? And then whenever you want to update to the new updates, then you will pay a little extra, but it's definitely a lot cheaper than if you want to get your own Adobe Creative license. So this will be the tech stack number one if you are a freelancer or a very small company and you really want to be like cost efficient. This is the lean stack for you: Archicad, Beam Cloud, Twinmotion or DeFi, and then Affinity Photo and Adobe Acrobat. Now, again, we're talking about the best tech stacks, in my opinion, for Archicad users. We're gonna go to tech stack number two, and this is what I call the Lean Plus. So along with this, again, we're assuming that you're using Archicad, you're using the Beam Cloud, right, license too. And with here, What I recommend is really going a little bit, paying a little bit extra. Here we're gonna start using AI tools. So for here, you are gonna have the DeFi Pro version here. What I recommend about the Pro version is you have a lot more galleries and elements, and now you have some AI tools there that you can use to enhance your renderings. Along with that, you can also use a paid version of Twinmotion to, I think, have more capabilities. But I do think that for the price and the output that you get, DeFi is the better option. Along with this, we're gonna start adding Midjourney, right? Again, there's different options, but if you wanna, in my opinion, for the best tech stack or number two, I think you probably wanna be doing Midjourney or Cree AI or Ideogram, and all of them are about the same, $84 a year. So you can pick any of these three, which are great. I will also recommend to use something like ChatGPT. You can use Perplexity or Cloud, and I would recommend you to use the Plus version just because it's faster and it gives you also capabilities like the Sora and create little ChatGPTs here and GPTs here and there, and that's roughly like $20 a month, to say $20 annually. And oh yeah, and before that, I know that I'm screwing it up right now, but going back to tech stack number one, you would be paying $3,477 a year with this. Now, taking into account the affinity is only one-time payment, right? So you will be less eventually the next year just because of that. Whereas this one here, now we have Archicad, we have Archicad Beam Cloud, a graphics of Beam Cloud. We're assuming that you are paying for DeFi Pro, renderer. In this, you can also use really nice photorealistic renderings in that one. We're gonna assume that you are paying for a basic ChatGPT Plus license, and here we're gonna assume that here you're finally getting into Bluebeam, so you're gonna be using the basic version, the essentials, and you're gonna be using again just the individual license for Adobe Creative Lab, for Adobe Creative, right? In that case, the license is roughly $432 a year. For Bluebeam Essentials, you will have been paying for the basic license $260 a year. So once we add all that for the Tech Stack Studio number two, you end up paying roughly $4,770 and $3,800 a year. Now, taking into account that this is not including taxes, so once you include taxes, you pay probably north of $5,000. So the difference is roughly $1,000 here, and this again mainly because you are actually paying for DeFi and the Adobe Creative license, and these are really the bulk of the 8,000. Really, this is less than $100, so I wouldn't really, well, $300. So this will be tech stack number two that I recommend. If you, again, this will be mainly if you're a freelancer or a very small company. Now we're gonna go to whether you start kind of getting a little bigger and you're a bigger company, or you're just a freelancer and you have that nice thing where like you're not having to pay so many licenses and you can afford to use this. But what I recommend for Archicad Tech Stack number three, and then again mainly for business, again assuming that you have an Archicad license, a graphics of Beam Cloud, something that I found very useful is model port, because for our presentations you really need to have sometimes better models, and let's face it, like Archicad does not have great objects, especially when it comes to furniture. So I've seen people getting help from SketchUp, so they bring models from SketchUp, but I think that when it comes to quality products, Enscape gives you a very good starting quality of products that you can use as far as furniture goes, and at the same time works as a rendering engine. But you also have model port that I feel like it's great because you can download from Beam Object, which is free, great assets, and then you can really clean them up, and at the same time gives you the ability, model port gives you the ability to, if you have any SketchUp files, if you have any 3ds Max files, or any other files that are not compatible with Archicad, model port will make those compatible, and you can clean those up and bring the texture maps and everything, and now you have some nice furniture that you can add to your Archicad model. So I found these licenses useful for bringing, if you are the kind of person or the company that actually needs to include a lot of nice furniture or things like that for your client. I think that's useful. Enscape, I think it's very useful, especially now that it has the live sync with Archicad. It's very easy to use, it's very user friendly, and you can get great renderings out of it. And then Beam Object, which doesn't cost you any money, you just create your account and you can just download great assets that are actually based on the manufacturer with the right specifications from there. Then we will go again to our rendering, which is now we can include Lumion here. Now here you can always choose between, Twinmotion, Lumion. DeFi have become like let's call it the market, the big players here. I would still go with DeFi Pro, to be honest, just because for the output you get along with the cost of the license, I think it's a no-brainer to pay $360 a year for a very good rendering engine. Whereas Twinmotion would be more expensive and Lumion would be definitely more expensive. Even though they're both great, they have both licensed with Archicad, I do still feel like for the price that you're paying, I think DeFi is still the better option. Here's where I think things start getting interested, because now you have these new AI tools that are Prom AI, LookX, and they're specifically targeted for architects and to use AI, and they're enhancers, and they can come up with really cool renderings with just like a few prompts and clicks. So here I would recommend, just for the sake of it, I would recommend this one here, LookXI, which is like $200 annually. And I would also recommend the Crea AI, the Pro plan, which is $336. This is just in case that you want to go towards like animations and you want to create some videos that are pretty easy. So once you have your rendering, you put it on Crea AI or LookX, and you can create some pretty compelling 10-second, 15-second clips of that animation on that rendering that would normally take more time if you do it on DeFi or something, but it just takes like a prompt and a click. So depending again who's your client and where your normally type of work is, I will do that too. Just a quick thing here, let me make sure, I think. So yeah, and then lastly, here's where I would recommend, besides here we're gonna go with the core version of it, not the basics anymore. We're gonna go with the core, which gives you more capabilities and the ability to work together. Along with that, normally the business license for now that you're not an individual, now you have business license. Now this is gonna go up to $1,000 annually, and I would recommend to get the license of upcodes, at least the essential one, that will come with $468 a year. I believe this one here is very useful if you are an architect and you have like already a small studio, and you're always kind of going through permitting process, plan check comments, and you need that like upgrade to make it easier for people to kind of have something digital to kind of look at the codes. I think upcodes is a great tool, especially here in the United States. And with that being said, we're gonna assume that we are using Beam Cloud, of course, where you're gonna assume that we're using Modelport, Enscape, Beam Objects. Here, I'm gonna assume that I'm using the Crea AI, ChatGPT, LookX, Bluebeam Core, the Adobe Suites, and Upcode's Essentials, and that comes to a total of $7,000 compared to stack number 2. So the difference between Archicad tech stack number 3 and number 2 is like a little bit more than $1,000. That's, this is a significant amount, and a lot of that is because you are adding the licenses for these part here. Now you are adding like business licenses, and that's why the cost really goes up that much. Now finally, we're gonna go to our premium version, and this is mainly of the tech stack for Archicad. So if you're an Archicad user and you really want to learn about the best tech stacks that you can use, this is number 4, and this is the premium version. I call it premium because this is specifically if you have like a visualization studio working there that are dedicated for architects. So you have like or specialists in the company that are just doing the visualizations and animations. This is probably going to be the tech stack for you. So with that being said, again, we're assuming that you're using Archicad, Beam Cloud. We're gonna keep Enscape and Modelport and Beam Objects here. I think that's the best workflow. You can always decide not to use this. Now for this one here specifically, I think it has become a little bit more, how do I say this? Has become a little bit more compelling here now that it has Enscape Impact, because Enscape Impact would allow you to analyze everything that is like the solar and a lot of the energy use, and I think it's pretty compelling to use that as a presentation for a client if that's the projects that you're in. And if you're not if you're not never kind of doing something that like energy analysis or anything like that, then probably impact is not for you. But I'm recently starting to try it just to see what's the interest out there with the clients. Along with that, we're gonna be also, now we have a Unreal Engine. I think Unreal Engine, especially in the archivist world, has become really popular. The reason why a lot of the architects don't use it is the same reason why a lot of architecture firms don't use 3ds Max or V-Ray or Corona, is because generally speaking, it's a lot, the curve of learning is more difficult, and when you don't have somebody full-time specializing in that, it's very hard to kind of get familiar with, especially in Unreal Engine, that even though it's an amazing tool and you can compare it with Twinmotion, they're in the same company, Unreal Engine doesn't necessarily have the same like a library done there. You have to bring libraries in, and that could be a little bit technical to use. So the curve for learning Unreal Engine, it's definitely steeper, but you can get great results if you know how to use it. We're gonna keep the same ones here. Again, here I would recommend the Pro version, just because Creo AI, the great thing about it is that it gives you the opportunity, it's like a broker, it gives you the opportunity to use certain models. So meaning, like, for instance, if I'm using video, you can use Clean AI, and you have another 5 more models that you can use that are technically, you can pay those for like on itself, but the great thing is a broker, so you can choose which one to use, and the same for images. For instance, in Korea, there's you can use flux images, like flux technology. You can also use a few that are ideograms. So Korea is great to kind of have a little bit of everything. So I would recommend that one. ChatGPT, of course. Here, what I would recommend, especially if you have a visualization studio, a lot of RGB companies are using something that is like Magnifique or Topaz Labs, something that enhances images, that can upscale images, especially once you use AI. A lot of them still work like Stable Diffusion, still work in small pixels, in like a smaller format, pixel quantity. So an enhancer is definitely useful. And then for animations or videos, a lot of people use Adobe Premiere, but something that has become really popular is the DaVinci Resolve, and I think that's what, in the archivist world, a lot of the people tend to prefer going to the DaVinci Resolve. And then finally, here's where you will have the more specialized to visualizers. I have to kind of kept Rhino and SketchUp a little bit out of this, because I really wanted to kind of make it about Archicad and what it would be to just, what happens if you are just a company that is just trying to use Archicad and then with tools that can complement it, rather than the big studios that use Revit and SketchUp or Revit and Rhino. I just kind of try to kind of do these ones specifically just if you're not using it. So I'm actually including them right now, but this is just indicate that you have a visualization team. Chances are that you're actually using 3ds Max. And again, kind of going back to this, remember, this is like the best tech stack for the premium companies. So if you have a visualization studio, probably the best thing that you want to do is try to use that 3ds Max along with Corona, because it's just easier to use, or you can complement it with V-Ray if you want to. They are really similar in costs. And along with that, if you have somebody more specialized in AI, a lot of the companies are using Comfy UI or Stable Diffusion, and when you use those, as of right now, like, if you use it from your desktop, it's free. It does take a lot of storage, and your computer, of course, have to have good GPUs to use it. So, but again, if you're using it from your computer, it's free. You just have to. It's just a little difficult to install, and it requires some technical things and models to bring in. So it's not necessarily something that is too scalable right now. But you're definitely gonna be wanting to use 3ds Max and Corona. I think that's probably the best one, along with maybe Comfy UI or Stable Diffusion for the post-production. And I think that's it. I mean, it's a big list, but here I'm assuming that you're gonna do Archicad, Beam Cloud. You're gonna use these 2 licenses here, along with Impact. So that's $820 for both Enscape and Enscape Impact, which doesn't just give you the real-time animations and the renderings, but it also gives you the energy analysis. Again, this is not really something you need to include, but you're just gonna include both licenses as of right now in there. I'm gonna include the DeFi teams, even though it's a lot more expensive, but still I think for the value you still gonna get that. Now Unreal Engine is free as of this moment. I think it might actually cost money if you're like a big company, then you might actually have to pay something. But where it's at, it's really like you're gonna probably, if you're a big studio, you're probably gonna end up buying libraries from Unreal Engine. There's a lot of libraries that are free, but if you're an artist studio and serious about it, you're probably gonna start looking for high assets that are most likely you're gonna pay for it. But I do think that the cost of it's great, but I think specifically for architecture firms, I wouldn't recommend Unreal Engine necessarily. I think you're an architect studio and you're dedicated this full-time, probably yes. But for an architecture studio, I would still recommend DeFi, just because I still have the better cost output comparison for all the four. For here, I would recommend Cree AI, the pro version, along with ChatGPT. Here I would recommend the actual pro version, the professional, because it comes with the AI feature that does really speed the process of doing code analysis, along with a complete license, business license here. And here I will include the photo AI, which is like $200. And here the $295 of DaVinci. Now the great thing about these two, Topaz Labs and DaVinci, is like you only pay once, and then you only pay again when you want to upgrade, and I don't think you even have to pay the full amount either. So that's the great thing about these ones. Now the good one, the big daddy here, is 3ds Max, which is $1,945. That's what I would pick out of the three, but still that's a lot of money to pay. So that's why if you have like a visualization studio, you're probably gonna give this license to only 1 or 2 people, along with the Corona renderer, which is $514, and we're not gonna put any price for that. So the cost of this premium stack is $11,052, which seems like a lot of money, but you have to understand that some of these tools are only paid once. For instance, you have the Topaz Labs, you have the DaVinci that is only paid once. A lot of these other ones are unfortunately subscription based. And also to understanding that you're not gonna give these to every person in your office, right? Like some people will really specialize in 3ds Max and Corona, so they would just be getting those licenses, and some other people will be getting only the Archicad and Enscape. So some people would just probably be getting this, and some other people would just getting this last end of the image, and then somewhere along the middle people will be getting these licenses here. So even though it seems like a lot of money, once you distribute this hopefully efficiently, it's gonna be worth the money. And now we're gonna be to the last part of the video. You have to stay in the video for the last 25 minutes. Thank you so much. We're gonna try to create more videos that are also related to Archicad, because I'm an Archicad user, but I really wanna focus on AI. And well, I will try to find the right balance. So if whatever you wanna listen, just let me know, and try to make a video about that. So for this last part, I'm gonna show you my tech stack, which is not exactly what I'm using right now, but it's gonna be my goal, which right now is like 80% of what I'm using, and I'm debating whether or not I'm bringing one tool in or I'm testing other tools. So for this last one here, this is what my tech stack of right now. It would be, again, Archicad, Beam Cloud, Model Port, Enscape. Now here, this one, to be honest, this one here is the one that I'm debating, because as of right now, what I want to do is utilize Enscape and DeFi Pro, and I really want to see which one works better, or if I want to keep both. Impact is something that I start testing this year, just to see if clients actually want it, right? I can bring this data, energy data, and see how it works, and see whether or not it actually is giving me an ROI. If for whatever reason I decide like, hey, it's not worth the pay for Impact, then I will probably cancel Impact. But of this year, I really want to try Enscape and DeFi Pro, and really see whether or not both I can work with both, or I should just stay with one. But this is what my tech stack is between DeFi and Enscape. I'm gonna be using both, along with Impact, and I feel like next year I might simplify those a bit more. I'd be using Midjourney, just the basic version. I think still Midjourney gives you the best images, and it's amazing for ideation. And especially when you're paying the annual version of Midjourney, they give you the very good editor. They have the retexturizing, which is amazing to do, to change the styles. So I do think Midjourney still has the best model out there. Along with that, I would use Crea Pro. And the main reason I would use Crea Pro is because it gives you that nice access to really high-end animations. Again, I would probably use it this year and see how it works. And also I want to test the editor, because just like Midjourney, they have an editor, they have Flux technology. I'm very interested to compare it to Midjourney in the next year and see which one is ahead, and see whether or not I only need one, we just create AI, or if Midjourney steps up and starts actually doing videos and things like that too. Along with that, I do plan to stay with ChatGPT Plus, because it does have useful also, just not just for my business, but as for my life, just to kind of do questions and stuff like that. I like the ChatGPT. Here's where it changes. Here's where I'm debating whether or not I should stay with Adobe, mainly because I'm realizing that the only thing right now that I'm using of Adobe is Photoshop, and paying $350 a year for Photoshop, even though I love Photoshop, I don't know if it's worth it. Like, where I come here and I can pay $165 for Infinity Photo, which is kind of like Photoshop, along with Publisher and Designer, which is kind of like Illustrator and InDesign, and you're paying only one time $165 and you get the whole suite. So I'm really debating whether or not I should start doing this. I'm probably going to start with the trial version of Affinity Photo, and if I feel like I can actually use it and it's not as complicated, then I might actually by next year switch to Affinity. And then here I love Bluebeam. I will say with Bluebeam Core, I cannot tell you how much I dislike Adobe. With Adobe Acrobat, it is just not good. Here, again, because it's only a one-time payment, I would pay the Photo AI, because I use quite a bit of Stable Diffusion right now and other AI tools that I really need an enhancer, an upscaler, sorry. And I believe Topaz, right now I also bought the video AI, but I only gonna buy it once, and I'm not gonna update that for a while. I'm using the free version of DaVinci Resolve to create my videos, or any other animation to put together the clips. I'm using Adobe DaVinci Resolve. And then here's the other part. Like, I still have gotten into architecture visualization, and I have been using recently 3ds Max with V-Ray as part of the course that I'm doing right now with Boutique. But as of my license is gonna expire in the next few months, and I feel like I don't want to be paying, even though you can get the 3ds Max license for my case as an individual as an indie license, I still don't want to be subject to getting that. And then whenever I have like a studio, now I can work with a lot of people or something like that, be attached to that license. I feel like I want to do right now Blender, really learn Blender and really try to get the most out of cycles and EB, which are free, are included in Blender. So I would, for my architecture visualization, that would be my workflow, would be Blender, cycles, EB, and Stable Diffusion. And I know that V-Ray is coming to Blender, so if for whatever reason I'm really liking Blender, I really doubt I'm probably gonna be using V-Ray. I don't know. I've seen amazing things coming out of Blender and cycles that I don't even need. I think I need extra V-Ray, but as of right now, that's pretty much my tech stack for myself as of right now. And a few things are gonna get simplified next year, just because right now I'm in the process of testing, right? So out of Escape and DeFi, I might just get one. Out of Midjourney and Crea, I might just get one. Out of the Affinity and Adobe Creative Cloud, I might just choose Affinity. As far as visualization part, I might end up just doing Blender and cycles, or I might actually end up getting V-Ray. But that's my tech stacks here. Again, this is assuming that you are just an Archicad user, or you are an Archicad company, and and you're not necessarily working right there hand in hand with Rhino and SketchUp or one of those tools. You are kind of right now just solely trying to work in Archicad, and you're really trying to look for other tools that can enhance the rendering, the research process, the libraries, whatever it is that you need. but without you relying on any other 3D modeling tool other than Archicad. Now, of course, the last cases we added those, but that's in the case that you do have some sort of visualization specialist or visualization department that you can bring those tools in. But I hope you liked the video. These are the 4 tech stacks, 5 tech stacks, including mine, that you can, that I recommend, that I feel like it's great to use along with the cost. I mean, mine is like $6,000, I believe. Oh, I didn't update this. Let me see, 6,000. So mine would be 6,005 with 100. But that's kind of where we are right now. I mean, the cheapest you're gonna get is these, right? And these with the Beamcloud license, you could potentially just get it to that if you only use Archicad. But along with that, I would really recommend, if you really want to stay lean, that, like, if you really not want to spend any money, that's pretty much your lean. But that's what I have for you right now. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Please let me know if you liked it, and I will see you in